Okay, so this is problem number 4C, and it reads, what number between 200 and 300 is exactly divisible by 3, 5, and 7? So let's remember the questions we want to always answer before we solve anything. Do we understand the question? Do we see a pattern? Do we have enough information? And do we have a plan to solve it? So let's see if we understand the question. Okay, it says, what number between 200 and 300 is exactly divisible by these three numbers? Now, we need to, first of all, recognize that when it says that it's divisible, it means that we can take this number that is between 200 and 300, okay, whatever that number is, and we need to be able to divide it by 3 or by 5 or by 7. Okay, it needs to meet these qualifications, and when we divide this number by 3 or 5 or by 7, we don't get a fraction, or we want to get a whole number. Okay, also in order to achieve that, we need to recognize that a number that is divisible by any number, when we're talking about more than one number, okay, in this case 3, but it would work for 2, 3, or 5 or whatever, is that that number is going to be the least common multiple. Okay, the least common multiple, or sometimes we just represent it by the letters, the acronym LCM, least common multiple. Okay, and how do we compute the least common multiple? Very simple. We just compute the product of the numbers of interest. In this case, 3, 5, and 7, because the number must be divisible by them. Okay, so in this case, in order to compute the least common multiple, we're going to multiply 3 by 5 by 7. Okay, so we know that 3 by 5 is 15, and we know that, well, let's actually compute this. 15 by 7, 7 times 5 is 35, 7 times 1 is 7, plus 3 is 10. So the least common multiple is going to be 105. Okay, so let's go back to the original question. The original question was, what number between 200 and 300? Okay, so 105 is not between 200 and 300, so the range that we're looking for actually, yeah, no. So if we say this is 0, 100, 200, 300. We're looking for a number in this range, but the least common multiple is right here. Least common multiple. Okay. So how do we obtain a number that is between 200 and 300 that meets the requirements? Well, it's very simple. All we have to do is let's call it the range number. It's going to be the least common multiple times 2. Okay, why? Because if we multiply that, 105 times 2 is going to be 210, right? And 210 is between this range. If we multiply by 3, then it would be outside of this range. So in this case, 210, notice this, 210 is divisible by 2, 3, 5, and 7. Now, the question said, what number between 200 and 300 is divisible by those? But in order to answer the question, we have to multiply by 2, because if we just take these 3, 5, and 7 and obtain the least common multiple, it's outside of the range. So we are still satisfying the question and the requirements by multiplying the number by 2. So that is the answer to this question 4C.